Welcome to the True North Compliance Podcast, where we discuss regulatory and compliance issues for Canadian business.
Hello, I'm Sean O'Hara, and thanks for listening. Welcome, everybody. My guest today is Tim Van Vliet. Tim is the founder of a new Dawn Red Light Therapy Clinic in Langford, BC. As a graduate of UVic with a teaching degree, Tim spent most of the last 25 years teaching a variety of subjects in high schools in Canada, Ireland, and Scotland. His passion for rugby led him to playing and coaching for 2 Canadian national teams, and this, ironically, was the framework from which he started his career as a healer. Now he spends every day working with people one-on-one as they face the challenges created by a medical system that is overwhelmed and unable to provide the care and attention people need, especially those with conditions that are not easy to diagnose or treat. Welcome, Tim.
Thanks for having me, Sean. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so tell me a bit more about that journey from rugby into a healer. It's fascinating.
You know, I call it ironic because people, when they think about rugby, they think about, giant men colliding and bones breaking. But the injuries I sustained playing were incredibly informative. I suffered a few concussions, suffered a few ligament tears, bone breaks, the gamut playing at a high level. And it's every time that happened, I learned a little bit more about the body, and then coaching everyone from novice players to elite players, experiencing their injuries and joining them on that journey, because obviously I wanted them to get better and get the treatment they required. So I learned a lot about how the body works, despite, on top of what I learned in university, taking a lot of kinesiology and biomechanics, and my degree was in biology and phys ed. So, I just had this solid grounding of understanding and an intuitive sense that later led me to Reiki training. The scientist is one thing, but then the energy worker is a completely other end of the paradigm. So marrying those two kind of led me to a certain place in my understanding of how people work. And then stumbling across red light therapy 2.5 years ago, knowing nothing about it, and just it healed me 3 times. And I was finally like, what is this witchcraft? So started digging into it and realizing this is science. This isn't the woo-woo, Reiki realm, despite its effectiveness. It's rooted in something that is clinically measurable, that is repeatable. And when I found that, I sort of decided that I should dig deeper. And it's led me to here, having my own clinic and having the courage and resolve and belief in this healing to take the risk to treat others and have a space to do that in. It's been a difficult journey, but every day it's so worth it.
Good. So for people who have no idea what red light therapy is, what would you tell them?
which is kind of most people, even though they've heard of it and people have been talking positively of it. And I'd say it's like really exploding in terms of awareness. The understanding isn't really there yet. So without boring people with the biochemistry involved, very simply, the photonic energy stimulates the cell's mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell, to generate more ATP energy. Adenosine triphosphate is the energy by which all of our cells function. We don't actually run on glucose. We have to combine glucose and oxygen in the mitochondria to create ATP. And at the same time, there's this gene expression signaling that happens where the mitochondria tells the nucleus, We've got energy. Let's do our job. Now, you would think this is happening without any requirement, since our cells need to do their job. But we're chronically underlit and we are photosensitive. And so we need light. And what we've done is we've clothed ourselves most of the year, so blocking the light that way. And then in the summer, we put on sunscreen, which is very healthy for us in terms of blocking UVA and UVB rays, but also blocks the good light, the green, the blue, the orange, the yellow, the red. It's all good light except for UV. And so this has led us to sort of this predicament where our bodies aren't functioning properly at a cellular level. So when we shine the light on, we're really trying to restore and amplify our body's ability to do everything. But one of those things is heal.
Oh, fascinating. So, how does it differ, I guess, from, let's say, tanning beds? Because about a decade, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, they were a rage, and then people got scared and they faded out. So, how
Yeah.
does,
Well, as as the clinical data came out, they realized, oh, this is actually causing cancer in some people, because the whole idea of tanning beds is to shine UV light on the body to stimulate the melanin in the skin to darken. Certain people think that a tanned look is healthy and sexy and attractive. It's much better what the bodybuilders do with the spray pan, the spray pan tans, pardon me. But yeah, there was this absolute collapse of the tanning bed industry when this was sort of clinically proven. The light beds that we're using is all longer wavelength, mostly 660 nanometers to 810, which is the red to near infrared spectrum. And at these wavelengths, we see really optimal stimulation of the mitochondria and the enzymes within them, and thus cell function. We use red light because the longer wavelength has a smaller photon. So the smaller photon penetrates deeper before it runs into anything. So the LED red and near infrared penetrates about an inch and a quarter, but it's actually no better than green or blue even. Blue is the shortest wavelength that we typically treat with. Massive photon, huge energy, but it delivers it right to the surface of the skin. So if we're looking at treating some skin conditions that reside on the surface, then blue light is amazing for that. So we have like facial masks that delivers all of the other wavelengths of light, the blue, green, yellow, orange, and red and near infrared. So I hope that answered your question. I waffled a bit there.
yeah, so no relation to tanning beds then, and perfectly safe.
Well, the light pod looks like a tanning bed. It's the same principle. You lie in it, the lid comes down, so you're getting treated from both sides, but it's a completely different wavelength of light and totally safe. And it's about 20 times the price. So it's extremely expensive. Instead of, 20 long bulbs that are sort of fluorescent, there's 600 bulbs there. It looks like a tanning bed in the same way that Maserati looks like a Volkswagen Beetle.
Okay.
Not to diss the Volkswagen
Right.
users out there. I am one.
Okay. Yeah, four wheels. How long's the tech been around?
Well, the understanding that it was doing something really started in 1907. In the 50s, the pharmaceutical industry was doing a lot of trials trying to create cancer in rats by shaving them and slicing their skin and shining laser on them, and they were horrified to find out that it actually healed them faster than the group that wasn't receiving the laser. So it was shoved underground at that point because it certainly wasn't in the realm that the pharmaceutical industry wanted to go. They were looking for they were trying to create cancer so they could try to treat it. And so I would say like the 50s was when we really had an understanding of it. But then Thor Photomedicine, which is sort of the first real company that was manufacturing this equipment, started in 1997 by James Carroll in the UK. He's the one who's provided our equipment that we use in here, and it's kind of the gold standard in the industry. And so, yeah, so it's 30 years now that he's put everything he's got into this business. And it's just growing in leaps and bounds now as it becomes a little bit more accessible.
Neat. Is it a regulated industry?
Yeah, it's not regulated yet. This is one of the things I want to do with my mentor Josh Crawford up in Genoa Laser Therapy in Duncan, is create an association so that we can in some way set a standard and police what's happening out there, because particularly on Amazon or online shopping, all of the red light home use devices on there are vastly underpowered. They are not what I would call therapeutic, and no one understands what they're looking for to determine its effectiveness. So irradiance is the specification, and something in excess of 70 milliwatts per square centimeter would be a good standard. All of the LED pads and home use devices that we employ in the clinic are 100 milliwatts per square centimeter is really where the therapeutic level should be. If you're going to buy stuff online, you may as well wrap yourself in Christmas lights, in LED Christmas lights, to get a similar effect in terms of the dosage. Honestly, I mean, people think I'm being cheeky, but it is actually not helpful to be spending all this money on things that are not delivering a therapeutic dose, which essentially means that you need to sit with it for hours in order to actually have a measurable effect. And the healing is so subtle anyways, people don't know. And so a lot of it is placebic in terms of, and not really placebic, because their intention is to treat their body well. And with that intention comes healing. When we think about, mobilizing our body's energies and defenses and restructuring capabilities to an injury or to an area that's giving us harm, we are actually diverting our body's attention to that area and improving healing. So there is a sort of a metaphysical, intellectual, emotional component to this, but please don't waste your money on something that isn't going to treat you to the level that they lead you to believe that they will. And if you're looking at something and it does not report the irradiance or the dosage, don't buy it, because it's not reporting that because it's not at a level that supports their claims.
So a risk too is people get this, use it, they buy it off Amazon, they think it doesn't work, and then they say, why should I go to a clinic to pay more for something because it doesn't work for me, when it's just not strong enough?
Yeah, exactly. And, there's a lot of red light is being used in physiotherapy and chiropractic clinics, but they haven't actually been trained in the use either. They're just like, okay, point and shoot. And there's besides wavelength, there's also frequency that's important to understand. And so it is a little frustrating for those of us who've spent a great deal of time trying to familiarize ourselves with the different protocols, and also being privy to protocols that have been proven by years of trials, like what Josh has done up in Duncan, and him downloading a lot of that information to me as my mentor. And I am on a call with him every week to go over some of the cases that I've seen to ensure I'm maximizing my capacity to serve and make good decisions and provide helpful, albeit non-medical advice.
Oh, that's neat. That would be neat. An association that does that. And I guess, I don't know if I'd say legitimizes it, but gives some amount of reassurance to people.
Yeah, just trying to hold industry to a standard that hasn't yet been established. I think that is really important, that people are trained, that people are passionate about it, and they're not just trying to, print money by getting people to lie in a bed for 12 minutes, without oxygen. It's so important. Part of what you're treating in the light pod is your hemoglobin, and so we need to give it oxygen to maximize that efficiency. So oxygen therapy just is included with our light pod visits, and people really feel the effects that much sooner. And it is subtle. Healing is subtle, and that's one of the challenges this industry faces is people. It's not like a spa treatment where you walk out feeling great, necessarily, especially if people have been distancing themselves from their body because they've been hurt for a long time. They've been hurting, or they've been uncomfortable, or they feel that their body isn't attractive, so they're critical. All those things lead to an unhealthy relationship. And if they've been distancing from their body and turning down the signals and the communications that's been going on, then they can't feel a subtle shift. They can't feel relief on a minute scale. So each session, they're like, geez, is this really worth it? And it really takes about 3 sessions, I would say, of either the pod or the focused healing or both to feel the reduction in inflammation, to feel the reduction in pain, and the increase in vitality, because we're talking about, making you healthier at a molecular level, which takes a while to make itself known.
Can you explain what someone goes through, like the process when they decide, okay, I want to go to your clinic? What happens?
Yeah, for sure. So the first part is a consultation. This is really important for both parties because I need to understand what their experience is. And often they come in for one reason, and then when we get talking, they're like, "Oh yeah, I broke my ankle 2 years ago, and that's never really healed," or I, separated my shoulder, or I had a concussion. These things come out in story, and it all is playing a role in what is present for them, whether they're aware of that or not. So trying to download some of that information from them is really important for me. But then I get the opportunity to turn it around and educate them a little bit, because if they don't understand what's happening, chances are they're not going to feel or see the value and stick it out. That we don't have an extended medical benefits package yet. It's coming in the next couple of years. So these services are private and costly because the equipment is so expensive, and it's a brick and mortar structure because we need some place for people to go. So trying to explain that to them so they understand why they're giving this a chance and how it's going to react in their individual circumstance is really important. And then they'll go after that 15 or 20 minutes into the pod, and they'll spend 15 minutes there of the 20-minute session, because less is more on the first time. Sometimes people will stir up some toxins and debris, and they'll feel a little rough the night of. About 1 in 4 people feel 10 foot tall and bulletproof, so they have to just take it easy as well, because they can easily overdo it. And then sort of half the people don't really feel much after the first session, which is frustrating, because at least if you're on either end of the spectrum, you feel like something's happening. And then from there, depending on their needs, if they're looking for body contouring, we go into the vibration platform and have a session on there. Or if they're looking for therapy, we go into the therapy room, spend 15 minutes on their primary concern. I might wrap up some of their secondary concerns in other pads so that we're treating other areas of the body while I provide the laser. So the class 3B laser is kind of like a focal point of the clinic in a way, because the power and depth that I can get with that laser is far greater than LED. So we're looking at sort of 4 inches of depth. So with pressure, I can kind of reach all the organs. With different angles, I can get into the ball and socket joints, which are, will be harboring lots of degeneration or injury.
So when they're on their bed, are they do they put on special clothing? Are they naked? Are they covered in gloop, or what's happened?
No gloop. No, when they're in the bed, it's really important that they take this opportunity to try to sink down out of sympathetic state and into parasympathetic. Our great, epidemic of our time is actually anxiety, because our endocrine system is designed to react to a threat, and then that threat either passes or they pass. You either get away or you don't. We have this existential threat now all the time, because the mortgage doesn't go away, the husband doesn't go away, the kids don't go away. We have this complexity in our lives that is unprecedented, as we have all these time-saving devices. And so this part of this process is getting them to go into care and down regulate. So ideally, they're naked in the pod, but that might cause some anxiety for some people. They might not feel safe like that. So I tell people to wear whatever you're comfortable with while still allowing the light to reach your skin. Um, so sometimes people will be in there in their underwear, shorts and t-shirt if that's where they're at, but ideally without any clothing. They don't need to put on any cream or anything like that. It's just au natural is the idea. And then I tell them to stop thinking, which is impossible for people nowadays. But trying to encourage people to have some sort of peacekeeping time for themselves, where they can breathe, do some breath work, do some meditation, knitting, anything where you can just be happy and at a state of rest, because we haven't changed in 50,000 years. And 50,000 years ago, we rested 12 hours a day because there was nothing to do. It was dark outside. And that's just what we did. And that was a rejuvenative time for us. And now we don't have that. We're sleeping 5, 6 hours a day. We have constant stimulation. So that's important.
And we ran around naked under the sun in some areas.
Exactly.
So where can people find out more?
Well, they can visit our website at newdawnlighttherapy.com. And I also encourage people to, like, through the website, you can go see our Jane app. You can see the clinic schedule. If there's an opening there, feel free to stop in, because I will probably be available to have a conversation and show you the place. So, no commitment, no expectation, no high pressure sales gimmick. It's not like that. This is about your health and your healing. And I'm really passionate about, I've already seen so many people's lives change. I know what's possible for people. And so they just need to be free to investigate without feeling like they're going to be ambushed. And so that's the environment that I want to share, because I've really nothing to hide, and there's so much to explore. There's still so much to learn for all of us.
And where's your clinic located physically? What's
689 Hoffman Avenue in Langford. So it's just a few blocks south of the highway on Veterans Memorial.
right? Oh, perfect. My guest today has been Tim Van Vliet, who is the founder of a New Dawn Red Light Therapy Clinic in Langford. Thank you so much, Tim. And
Sean, thank you for having me.
And that's a wrap.
Wrap it up.